The following interview is being conducted as part of the Price of Freedom Oral History Series sponsored by the Madison County Military Heritage Commission to inform the public of the sacrifices made by our veterans and their families in service to our country. We wish to thank the Huntsville School System and the ETV Broadcast Center for their help in presenting this military heritage program. Hello everyone, I'm Tom Kennemer. Welcome to our program. Today we'll be talking with veteran Arno Hoerle and his wife Renata about their life together in the military while Arno served 25 years in the U.S. Army. Arno is the recipient of 2 awards of the Distinguished Flying Cross for his heroic actions as a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. He retired from the Army in 1983 as a lieutenant colonel and was inducted into the Madison County Military Heritage Hall of Heroes in 2014 and presently serves on the Heritage Commission Board of Directors. Arno, Renata, it's a pleasure to have you both with us. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Arno, tell us a little about yourself. Now, where were you born?
I was born in Nebraska, Cornhusker.
Cornhusker, okay.
One of 8 children. We lived on a farm right outside of a small town. Spent my first 11 years in Nebraska, at which time our family moved to Missouri, northern Missouri, around Kansas City. And I lived there about 3.5 years. And then the family moved down to the Springfield area, where I finished high school. And in that 2-year period that I was in high school there, I joined the Civil Air Patrol, and that became my future.
That gets you started, yeah. Was your dad in the military?
No, he was not.
What about brothers or sisters?
I have an older brother that was in the Air Force. He is since deceased. And I have a younger brother that was in the Army.
I see, okay. And Renata, where are you from?
I was born and raised in Germany.
Okay. And how did you and Arno meet?
Well, he was stationed in a town not far from my hometown and frequented a young hangout. And one Sunday afternoon, we were both there, and he asked me to dance, and then he asked me on a date, and the rest is history.
57 years of history.
That's
right?
correct.
I know you and Arno have 2 sons and several grandchildren. Tell us a little about your family.
Well, our oldest was born in Frankfurt, and he's currently working in Minneapolis and has been there for the last 15 years. And our youngest son lives in Arkansas and has a daughter and a son there, and has a daughter and a son in Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Okay.
So they're kind of scattered around. So we have a total of 5 grandchildren, and actually, I need to correct that, we have 6 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild.
I see, okay. And do you get to see them often?
We do. We usually about once a year or so, we either go to see them or they come to see us.
Yeah. Arno, when did you go into service? And you first went in as an enlisted man, right? Talk a little about that.
I entered the service in 1958.
Okay.
Went through the normal basic training, and because of my love of aviation, I went to AIT and as an aviation mechanic, aircraft mechanic. From there, my first assignment after AIT was to Germany.
Okay. And you're working on the planes at that time, still enlisted, right?
Enlisted for, well, I actually stayed enlisted for about 7 years.
Okay.
And I worked on aircraft, was a flight engineer on the larger aircraft that the Army owned at Fort Benning, Georgia, 11th Air Assault Division, which later turned into the 1st Cav Division.
I see.
And from there, on to OCS.
So what changed your mind? I want to get Renata's thoughts on this as well. What made you, or what prompted you to want to become an officer?
It was kind of interesting. We, being in Germany, I met my wife on my first tour there. I was just about ready to come home when we met, and so I had some choices to make. And one of the choices was coming home without her and then bringing her over, or re-enlisting and staying over in Germany for a bit longer. So I elected to re-enlist, and we got an additional time in Germany then.
I see. Renata, what's your thoughts about being married to a man who would make a career in the military? What were your thoughts?
Well, I was very proud of him. And we just, I lost my thought.
You're very proud of him.
I was very proud of the fact that he served in the military.
Right.
So we just kind of clicked, and it was never a problem for me to be married to a military man.
Okay.
But I was also very young.
I see.
And when you're very young, you don't think about a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, but
you trusted him?
I did.
Yeah.
I did, yeah.
In my conversations with veterans that have made the military career, each and every one has discussed the extended military family. I want both of you to comment about this. You know, how it helped your family while in the service. And Arnold, we'll start with you. That extended military family means a lot to those in the military.
Yeah. Well, the whole military, in one form or another, is a family. And there's always somebody there that helps out when need is there. No matter what rank or what you are, family, wives, children, the military people themselves, there's always some place that you can go and somebody's there to help.
Yeah. We were talking to Claire Goodrich, Claire Parr and Julie Goodrich recently, and they both talked about, you know, when their husbands were overseas, that there was always somebody back home that, you know, in the extended military family that knew how to do plumbing and do repair work, and that was always helpful. You pitched in and helped each other, and I know that was helpful. Renata, Arnold served 2 tours in Vietnam. Was that the toughest time for you and your family, being separated that long?
I would say it was, yes.
Did you have small children at that time?
We did. We had a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. But I was very fortunate. My mom came from Germany and stayed with us the whole year. So I had some support there, which also helped me go meet Arno in Hawaii twice on his first tour from 1967 to 68.
I see.
Because she was there with the children.
Yeah. So the extended military family was very helpful for you as well, and your own family as well, too.
Yes, that's correct. On our street, we had several military families, and they were fortunate enough that their husbands were at home. And when I needed some help in the household, like I had a flat tire in the garage one day, my neighbor came over and changed it for me.
Great, yeah.
So, you know, so I was always keeping company with military wives and families, and that is what makes the military family so unique.
Right, right. It is very, very important, and I want to ask you, were you employed any time, you know, while Arno was serving the 25 years?
At the beginning, no. I raised the children, and as they became teenagers, I branched out and went back to work.
I see. What did you do, Renata?
Well, I first sold clocks in Germany.
I see, okay.
And after we came back to the States, I went into the banking business.
I see.
And I spent approximately 15 years in the banking business.
While you were in the service, Arno, did you always stay on base, live on base, or off base? Or how did that?
Mostly no. Whenever we went to Germany on our 3 tours, we always stayed in military quarters. But in the States, we generally lived off base in a regular house. We'd buy homes wherever we went, and that was our lifestyle.
I see. What about moving ever so often to a new base, a new community? Did you ever get used to that? I want you both to comment. We'll start with you, Renata. Was that, you have to get used to that, I guess, right?
You do.
Right.
You kind of get used to picking up ever so often, usually 2 or 3 years. And, but I looked at it as an adventure. I was going to meet new people. I was seeing new places, a new state. And so I was always ready to go.
Yeah. Always. A new adventure awaits you. Right?
That's correct. Yes.
And your thoughts on that, Arno?
Well, from my perspective, it was always an opportunity for something new and different. I was very fortunate in my military career that I was a commander in several different occasions and had an opportunity to work with people and make sure that things were being done right. And so the changes was probably harder on Renata than it was for me, because as soon as I got to a new location, I had a handful of things that needed to be done. And so the military was hard in that respect, both for Renata and for me, because she was left with taking care of everything that's required on a move.
Managing the home front.
Managing the home front.
Yeah, very important.
And I might also say, from my perspective as a commander, she became an ambassador. She made sure that things were organized with all of the military families in the unit. So
she was the commander at home. Is that what you're saying?
She was the home commander. She did a marvelous job at it.
You touched on it just a little bit earlier, Renata, about renewing friendships. When you go to different bases and you have to be transferred, I would assume you renew old friendships. Well, we used to be stationed with this couple in Hawaii or Germany or whatever. So it's a lot of renewing friendships when you change bases, right?
It is. And we still have friends from way back from the 60s and 70s that we still stay in touch with.
Yeah. I want both of you to comment on, give us your thoughts on raising a family while in the military. You have to move around a lot, as we've talked about, different schools, different communities. What kind of impact was that on your children?
Well, it seemed like our kids did pretty well. They adjusted very quickly until they became teenagers. We were getting ready to go to Germany because my mom was ill. And we were having another tour over there. And the oldest, Michael, did not want to go to Germany. He had his friends in Virginia and wanted to
Maybe he had a
stay.
girlfriend. Maybe he had a girlfriend.
Well, I don't know that that was true, but he had his friends and he didn't want to move, so that kind of made it tough. And Arno had to take a Chinook transition yet at that time, and we had to go ahead of him. So it made things a little bit difficult, but he got over it once we got to Germany.
I see. And your thoughts about
Well,
raising a family?
It seems like every move we ever made, it became a burden for Renata and the kids, because I was always off having to do something. But the moving, as far as our kids was concerned, like Renata said, was pretty easy. And even our oldest son that did not want to go to Germany, as soon as he got there, he was all established, got a girlfriend, got his driver's license, and he was mobile, and he was having fun.
That changed a lot of things, didn't it? Right. Now, but changing schools, that wasn't a big problem, you know, every so often for young children?
It did not seem to be. We enrolled them in school, and they made new friends. I guess you might say they got used to it too.
Yeah.
Just like we got used to moving in a new home, fixing up a new home each time. It was not a problem for them.
Yeah. How many times did you move, Arno? Do you recall that 25-year career?
I think we had 17 moves
17
in
moves.
25 years.
Yeah.
We didn't stay long in a lot of locations. Our longest tours were in Germany. Of course, the first one was, well, the second one was only 2 years. That's all they gave me before I had to go back to Vietnam, my second tour. So we had a lot of adjustments to make. And I think our youngest son had more difficulty with school than the oldest one did.
I see.
Our oldest one kind of moved right into it without any problems at all.
Easier for him, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. What was your favorite place, you know, in those 17 tours, I might say. What?
Colorado.
You love that
Yes.
Rocky Mountain area.
Yes, we did. Well, it reminded me of home.
I see, yeah.
So we enjoyed that. We were there twice on 2 different tours, and I stayed there with the children the first tour, 67, 68. And like I said, my mom came over, and she spent a year with us.
We went there fresh out of flight school.
What base was that, Tom?
Colorado Springs, which was
Fort Carson.
Fort Carson, Colorado, yeah.
Yeah.
I joined a unit there, fresh out of flight school, that was getting ready to go to Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And so we trained in Colorado for about
6
months, just about 6 months before we deployed.
I see. What advice would each of you give to a young couple who may be just starting out a career in the military? Maybe they're just they're planning on staying for a career. We'll start with you, Renata. What advice would you give to someone like that?
You need to stay positive and try to make the best of each situation. That's what I tried to do. Even though we moved as much as we did, if we were there 6 months or 2 years, I always fixed up the house and made it comfortable for all of us. And that is how you move on. You just make the best of what is presented to you.
Try to keep a positive outlook for it.
Positive.
Yeah.
You have to keep positive thoughts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your thoughts on it?
I think for the family, it was pretty easy for them to make the moves, because I think our kids, even like Renata, they viewed it as a new adventure, something to go forth and do for the most part. For me, I knew that was part of my military obligation, my job. And I viewed the military service as a job that needed to be done. And so whatever it took is what we did.
What have you felt about was the greatest advantage of serving in the military, serving, planning your career in the military? What was the biggest or greatest advantage you're thinking about?
I think the biggest advantage was learning a trade and becoming a specialist at it.
I see.
Being able to not only do a duty for my country, but also establishing a trade that I could take into civilian life.
After a long career in the military, what kind of adjustment was it for you to return to civilian life, Renata? Was that tough?
Well, no, it really wasn't. Arno left the military and went to work for the Boeing company for 17 years. And so there again, we started moving. Something we were used to.
Right.
But we were getting older, and we were also looking forward to being a little bit more stabilized.
I see.
So we had only a couple of moves in the 17 years that Arno was at Boeing. So it wasn't too bad. And I went to work, like I said, so we were both still very busy, even after he left the military.
Arno, what kind of adjustment was it for you, and how did you wind up in Huntsville?
Well, the adjustments going into civilian life was easy for me. Before I even got out of the military, I was working for the Boeing company already, and doing the things that I really like to do, developing new technology aircraft, doing that kind of work, and then supporting programs out in the field, and all the things that I enjoyed doing.
Were you a test pilot as well?
I was never a test pilot, but I did the development, mostly the electronics and avionics on the new aircraft that we were putting in the field. That's the kind of work that I did initially, and then I went to work on some very old established aircraft that we sold to foreign countries, and I did a lot of work and a lot of traveling, taking care of those things.
Now, you were able to do this after you retired, but you were able to extend your education opportunities while in service. Talk about what you were able to do.
Actually, I went into the military with a high school education and knew that I had to do better than that, so I started taking classes and college courses and that sort of stuff whenever I could. And once I got commissioned, then I knew that I had to have a college education very soon.
Right.
And so I worked very hard at it, and finally was, after I had about 3 years of college, the military was kind enough to send me out on the bootstrap program, and spent the last year in a college of my choice to get my undergraduate degree.
Do you stay in contact with a lot of your friends? You moved 17 times while you're in 25 years, but stay in contact with a lot of your friends that you served with?
We still do, mostly on a yearly basis, like at Christmas, sometimes at Easter. We still write back and forth to a lot of friends that we made during our military years, and also after he got out of the military. So yes, we still have quite a few that we stay in contact with.
Yeah.
And even today yet, we have reunions from some of the places that we were stationed with, and even all the way back to OCS days. And so we still are in contact with, through that venue.
A lot of the aviators have reunions quite a bit. The ones that I've talked to, they try to get together at least every year or so. Yeah, yeah. When you look back, Arno, would you do it all over again? I mean, your life, what you did in the military. Are you pleased and happy with it?
I'm very happy with it. I think some of that was forced on us because of us wanting to be together and getting married young. But yes, as far as my military service, I would do it all over again.
And you married the same woman, right?
I would marry the same woman. There is no doubt about that.
And your thoughts on that? How would you change anything every now?
Well, there again, I was very young when we got married, and it just kind of fell into place. And I had no problems with the moving and with the military, and yes, I would probably do it all over again. Yeah, I definitely would marry the same guy again.
You'll renew the vows, in other words, when you have the opportunity, I'm sure. Well, Arno, Renata, I want to thank you both for participating in our oral history interview series and allowing us to preserve your military experience. And I think it's only fitting to thank you both for your service to your country. Thank you very much for being with us. Now, if you'd like more information regarding this interview or any interview on our Military Heritage Series, please contact the Madison County Military Heritage Commission website at mcmhc.org. I'm Tom Kennemer. Thank you for being with us.